911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey everybody, how are you guys doing? It's good to see everyone. I am sorry that it's been a few days. I had a death in my family, and so it's been just a whirlwind of stuff going on. So the funeral was yesterday, the visitation was Sunday, and we had 2 open houses last week, one on Thursday and one on Saturday night. So it was just a real, like I said, it was just a lot. And one of the things, it wasn't not unexpected. We knew this was happening. She was diagnosed last summer with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So anyway, but it's really hard to deal with when it happens, just so you guys know. I'm sure everybody has been there. I do have a good show tonight. I have Frankmeister with me. And I think that most everyone who follows and supports my channel knows Frank. So he was and he's a busy guy. That's all there is to say about it. When it comes to Delphi and the Delphi community, Frankmeister is a go-to. He is upstanding. He is fact-based. He tries to not embellish and, create craziness. And he tries to steer away from that. And that's one of the things that I love about him, that he tries to, remain that way. And he had started his own channel back in June. and he is almost to 1,000 subscribers, you guys. So if you haven't subscribed to Frankmeister, please go out and do that now. Like and subscribe to his channel. I'm going to drop his channel in the comment section for you guys that aren't. Let's get him to 1,000 subscribers, you guys. He does a lot for this community, and I can't say enough about him. He is also close with the family of Libby, and that is another reason that I respect him, because he is about the families and what they're going through in all of this. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Frank on. I really ask that everybody in chat remain respectful to one another, as well as to the guests that I have on my channel. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask them, but I will address them as I can throughout the stream. I do try to mark them and highlight them so I don't miss them. But yeah, that is how I try to handle it when I do have a guest. And so, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and bring Frank on with me.
Well,
Hey there.
hello. Hi, Krista. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. It's been a long few days. Days.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on in the Delphi world.
Oh, yeah. Trying to keep up with it. I mean, I didn't get to bed until 4 o'clock this morning. It was right back. For some reason, my body told me to wake up and check your emails. And I woke up and checked my email. So I'll be damned. They done sent me everything.
Well, it's funny because I was up late, as you know, because I think I contacted you last night, like at 2 a.m. I was up as well. I was trying to catch up on stuff that I had missed, and my email was overloaded, and so I was like trying to do that, and it was crazy because I had my 6-year-old grandson is on fall break for the next couple weeks, so I had him today because it's also my middle grandson's birthday today, and he's a football player, so his mom wanted to spend the day with him and take him to lunch and do stuff with him, so I kept the little one. And so it's been a crazy day for me trying to get through all this, but I really am glad that you came on with me. I've been wanting to have you on for quite some time.
Yeah, I know. It's just been so crazy. My schedule with this Delphi case is like, when do I have time for myself?
I know.
Because I mean, I used to work in bill collecting, and I used to be in front of a computer for 12-hour days, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not up on the computer stuff anymore. So I'm on my phone all day long, making calls, looking for documents, calling the clerk's office, doing this, doing that, spreading everything out to everybody. And I do want to mention that me and Deb, True Crime Notebook, know your situation with the death in the family, and with you having your surgery. You've been down for a while, and we decided that we were just going to reach out and help you out, and because we knew you were going to fall behind with all this stuff going on. So that's why I reached out and started giving you documents and stuff like that, so you weren't trying to find anything. So, well,
that I just so appreciate both of you, like I said, because you guys have really kept me up to date and up to speed with what's going on. Thank goodness.
Right.
But it's kind of wild out there, and I'm glad that we're going to be able to talk about it tonight and kind of go over all this, the motions and the response to the motions from the prosecution and where we actually are standing, because the trial is quickly approaching. I mean, early January is I mean, it's the 8th, I believe, is the trial date, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
So, they're going to obviously be choosing jurors first, and that'll take up a few days more than likely. But it's coming fast and furious. I can't believe how quick it's going to be here.
Right. And see, I still have this feeling it's not going to happen in January. But I mean, if the judge is already pushing the prosecutor and the defense to make sure that all discovery on both sides is turned over by November 1st, it seems like she's rushing. She's wanting to get this in trial. And I mean, I just don't see how she's going to do it. There's all these motions that's been filed and nothing's been done with them except for that one she did today, the order on the discovery.
Right.
I mean, and then after you have those hearings or whatever they're planning to do with that, then you're going to have your pretrial conferences, and I just don't see any of that happening in 2 months.
Right. And I kind of agree with you as well. I think that we might end up seeing exactly what happened in the Idaho murder case happening in Delphi. I actually look for him to waive his right to a speedy trial. But on the other hand, if the defense is so confident in what they think they can present, they may want to go ahead and go. It's a whole strategy thing. And if they think that they can get the prosecution off-footed by going to trial quickly, then they may try to do that. Who knows?
I believe they've already waived the right to a speedy trial.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, anything's possible at this point. It's on the docket for them. They haven't changed anything, which it can happen, when they go in on the 8th, they could say, that they're going to move it or extend it. But I look for her to do something before the holidays. If they're going to extend it, I look for that to happen before Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to think about it. If she wants all the discovery turned over by November 1st, and once you read through the documents, you can see that Nick McClellan has made it clear there's thousands and thousands and thousands of pages that had to be scanned in and all this and that. And we all know the circumstances in Carroll County, short-staffed in the courthouse and all that stuff. So it's going to take them time to get all this done. And I just don't see, like I said, they're not going to get through all the discovery as far as it'll be turned over. But as far as going through it, they're not going to be ready. No way.
It's kind of like what they said in the prosecution's response to the discovery date asked for by the defense, wanting to have a basically a cutoff point, and all discovery needs to be into the defense by a certain date. Well, she did respond to that, and she set it for November 1st, and the prosecution wasn't against that. But I loved how he explained in his document why discovery took so long in this case. People don't seem to understand how, and I think it's in general just because people don't understand how these cases work and the volume of discovery, whether it be audio files, video files, written files, police reports, all of the tip line information. I mean, we're talking, this case garnered over 70,000 tips. Now, how many of those tips were tips that they actually worked? That's another thing. But the same thing is they have to turn everything over to the defense, period. And, he talked about that. It took hours upon hours of scanning documents, correlating them, putting them in some sort of order, getting them onto hard drives to where they could be passed off to them. All of that takes time and effort and people. And it's just like you said, we know Carroll County doesn't have that volume of workforce in their courthouse. I mean, he's got 3 people working for him?
Well, now there's 5.
5?
Yes.
I mean, it's still.
I know this personally because I talked to every clerk in the court.
Yeah.
There's 5 of them.
Yeah. And it's so I mean, it's. I enjoyed reading these documents. I like when McClellan responds because he does it in such a a nice wrapped up bow. He does it all with a nice little wrapped up package bow, and he does it really fast. No drawn out, drama. He just states it like it is. And, he basically said that the defense is using really, how do we want to say it? Language that instills emotion in the public. They're trying this case in the public domain.
Basically basically what he's saying is the defense is being obscured, or it's obscured on what the defense is doing and saying.
Yeah, because they're basically trying their case in these motions that are being made public. And,
right.
And rather than doing it in the court of law in front of the jurors. And as you and I and everybody else who follows these cases, whether it's, Steve from True Crime Web, who's, our go-to retired detective law enforcement, whether it's Perry from Faxx, or whether, it's Ruckus, who you just had on your show. They're all ex-law enforcement, and they know and have told us for so long that you can taint the jury pool if you're not careful.
Right.
And that's what I see happening here.
Now, exactly. And I made that comment. I think it was in Rick Snay. It was after one of his shows. Somebody said something about something like that. And I said, look, the pictures are evidence. And they said, no, they're not. And I said, yes, they are. They would be presented to the court as evidence, like exhibit number 1, exhibit number 2.
Yes.
I said, what's happening here is that these individuals are putting this out in the public domain so everybody can see what's going on before they even get into trial. Try to get them to make up their minds before a jury's even picked. Now, that to me, that's almost like jury tampering to me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting how Frankel decides to handle all this. There is a lot of stuff that's questionable in my mind that's happening in this case that she's going to need to get a handle on.
I'm going to give you a little bit of a secret.
I'm actually surprised that she hasn't said more already.
I'm going to tell you a little secret.
Mm-hmm.
A little birdie was in my ear today and told me that she is planning to do something.
Good. Because, a gag order is a gag order. Mm-hmm. And when a court places a gag order on all parties involved in the case, including the families, they mean that. And that is, that you can't just supersede that by motions. And, and to me, that's what I've seen the defense doing in this case, which I think is just absolutely disgusting, because they need to be doing this in the court of, in the court of law, not in the court of public opinion. It doesn't matter what you or I think or how we feel. It's going to matter to 12 jurors. Mm-hmm. And for them to be trying this case in the public domain, because that's what they're doing. They knew when they filed this and they left it open that it was going to get in the hands of social media and it was going to be ran with. The whole Odinism and Odinist angle. I'm not saying at all that this stuff should not be investigated. For sure, it should be investigated. Everything needs to be investigated. But what everybody is failing to remember is that this isn't new information. This information has been known since the first week of the murders.
Well, yeah, I mean, that brings me back to that. I mean, it's not like that nobody knew about the allegations of the crime scene back then. It had been talked about. When I was still working with Marv, me and her even covered that angle when it came to the Professor Christopher Moore.
Yes.
With his Krampus beliefs. which is another pagan type situation, you know, and
Right.
it's all been talked about before.
It
I
has.
mean,
And even, you know, even the names of these individuals have come up before for a long time, for years. And, you know, I can't in my mind believe that law enforcement did not vet these people and everything. Like I said, the number one person mentioned in their motion was at work. He has an alibi.
well, according to what I've heard, that they've got him on videotape arriving at work, and he was there all day long. Got him leaving. They got his time card and everything. So that's what I've heard.
Yes, and it's and that's the truth from everything I know from way back. I mean, this isn't like I said, something that we just found out about in the last month. This is stuff that was 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah, he was their main target right at the beginning.
Well,
from my understanding,
it's like, you know, I think that there was a lot of reasons why that is. And I think there was, I'm not saying that there's not a lot of stuff, and the Odin stuff is part of it, and all of the ritualistic, you know, the runes and all of that stuff. The fact that they do practice this, the fact that the Vinlanders is a group that is real. I think they had reason to look at this and to look that direction. And again, they would have been remiss if they hadn't.
Right. I mean, and the way I look at this whole situation when it comes to that with the Odinism and all that is, I'll look at it this way. Nick McClelland intentionally gave that piece of discovery to them for a reason. He had vetted from one end to another and could get nothing out of it. So he said, there's nothing here.
Right.
He gave it to the defense and let them run around with it, let them chase their tail. That's the way I'm seeing it.
And I have to tend to agree with you simply because not only did the state, Indiana State Police, the whole, as they call it, the whole command looked into this. That was the FBI as well. And the FBI stated in the search warrant affidavit for Ron Logan that the crime scene was staged. It's staged to look like something it isn't.
Right.
And
which basically is telling you
that's what staging means.
Right. I mean, for my understanding, they said it looked like an amateur that did it. Try to make it look like something it wasn't. You know, and then you go back and think about what Richard Allen was saying is that how did he know what Odinism was? Because if you read through the documents again, he's the one that started it with his attorney. When the attorneys come to visit him, he said, "Is my wife alive?"
Right.
And they asked him why, and he said, "Because the Odinites are going to kill my wife." Blase, blase, blase. And that's where that whole thing started.
Interesting, huh?
Right. And everybody thinks it's the attorneys who are the ones who saw all these patches at the prisons. Well, my cousin was in Westville. He got an 18-year bid for armed robbery, and he only did 10 years. So I've been trying to get a hold of him, which I've been unsuccessful, to find out if this stuff is true about Westville with the Odinism and the guards and all that crap. And I could put an end to that real quick.
Well, I think what's interesting is when McClelland writes his response to the whole Westville correction officer stuff, in there he says, first of all, the one officer works in Pod B, not Pod A, which is where Richard Allen is kept. And yes, he does help move him if he has to go from one area of the prison to another. But that's it. He's not seeing him on a regular at all. The other guard has never had any kind of reprimand or anything for being abusive or being over the top with, you know, how he treats prisoners. And that, to me, that makes a difference, you know, that
it speaks volume.
exactly. And so the thing that I got about all this was I can't imagine that the state of Indiana would allow those kind of patches on professional uniforms. That's the first thing. And it
you just gave me an idea. Get a hold of the Indiana
Department of Corrections
superintendent.
Yes.
Not the warden, the superintendent.
The superintendent, because I would think that would be something that would be so obvious and would be seen right away. And I can't think of his name, Frank. Who's the inmate that the guy that's in there for child?
It starts with a B.
Yes.
I can't think of it.
I know the guy that you know has been that they actually the defense.
He was sending letters to the judge.
Yes, and he also the defense called him as a witness in June, and he refused to come out of his cell after all that, because he's the guy that's been giving ever since he got his 40-year sentence for child abuse, or not child, well, it is child abuse, but you know what I'm talking about. I can't think of what his charge is right now.
Child neglect.
No, it was sexual assault of child. He got 40 years for it. Ooh. Baston. Thank you, Julianne.
That's it. Baston.
Yeah, Baston. Yeah. And so he, you know, here they've got this guy stating all this stuff as fact, and that, you know, Richard Allen's being mistreated and all this and all this. They, you know, McClellan laid out in his response that this guy has been doing this stuff since he got to prison and got his 40 years sentence. You know, he complains about every little thing. He inserts himself into other cases, which he obviously did in this one. And so, you know, I just don't think that was very smart on the defense's part as to call him into this case, because this guy has no credibility.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think about the depositions of the guards? Have you read those yet?
I haven't.
Because I'm seeing some comments in here where they're saying the guards have admitted to wearing the patches and are practicing heathens. I haven't got a chance to read it all.
I haven't had a chance to read that yet, but I would not at all be surprised that there are Odinists in this area of Indiana, because we know there are.
Well, they've even admitted
an Odinist does not make you a murderer, and especially a child murderer. Just because they practice a pagan religion doesn't make them murderers. And it doesn't make them ritualistic killers.
I want to thank Gail Hurd for the final or super sticker.
Oh yeah, Gail, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it so very much. So you're going to have, I mean, I imagine that there are Odinists that are inmates in the prisons. I guarantee you there's Vinlanders.
Oh yeah, there's big time statistics that show that there's Odinist practitioners and stuff in the prisons. It's well known. It is well known.
Right. And so I just, you know, I think that you know, even McClellan says in his response that they removed those patches when command got word that they were wearing them. So obviously somebody wasn't doing their job in supervising their guards very well.
And you know what's so weird about it? It just happened a month ago that they were ordered to remove those patches. Oh, from what I'm seeing a month ago.
Yes. And that's what the
just
defense is saying, is that they were suddenly gone when the defense
brought up the
realized
Odinism angle.
what it
Yep.
was. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, this case is a mess.
I mean,
It's a big old
it
mess.
just keeps going in the, like I said, I call it Delphiville because it's just gotten so out of hand. There's a lot of things that are going on in this case that take away from what we should be focusing on. And to me, that's part of the problem here. Now, we can discuss why that is. Is that the defense's play to try to get people talking about all this other stuff and taking their mind off of the fact that, Richard Allen confessed, and that Richard Allen put himself, on the bridge that day wearing the same clothes that bridge guy's seen in the video wearing. I mean, all of that,
Hold on a second. I'll call you back later. But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I just, that's my feeling on this, is that the defense has utilized people from social media, people from YouTube, creators from YouTube, to get this narrative that they want to push out there. And, I
was called a hypocrite because I'm taking the prosecutor's side, because everything is pointing right at Richard Logan, or Richard Allen. Richard Logan. And I said, there's a reasoning for that. I said, take the gun out of the whole equation. Take the bullet away from the whole equation. Like you said, he admitted to being on the bridge on the first platform.
Yep.
He admitted to wearing similar clothes as the bridge guy. Okay. What else did he admit to? He admitted to his wife. He admitted to his mother.
Yep.
Don't tell me he's being coerced into telling. I just don't believe that.
Well, his confession isn't a coerced confession, because he confessed to his mother and he confessed to his wife, and he did that free will. Nobody was holding him hostage to do that. And who's going to go to their mom, not even their wife, who's going to go to their mom and admit to brutally murdering 2 teenage girls?
Right.
And I see that David Gray says 27% of homicide confessions are false, but those are confessions that are being, gotten in an interrogation. This is not what we have here. This is not the scenario that we have. And he put himself there. He put himself there early on. The only reason he came forward early on, in my opinion, is because they released the photo of bridge guy on the bridge, and he's like, oh shit. Somebody saw me. He didn't know there was a video of him. He didn't know that he had been caught on camera.
Well, see, the thing about that is he went and gave his statement on the 14th, and the very first still shot of bridge guy was released on the 15th. So he was in the clear after that.
Are we positive that it was the 14th?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've never seen the date of when he went.
I believe it was the 14th, because as a matter of fact, I think that somebody had posted somewhere on YouTube, they actually had the statement with Dan Doolin and had the date and time on it.
Okay, because that is, to me, is critical. I've always felt that once he realized that they had video or a still photograph of him, that he had to go and explain why he was there. We have witnesses who saw him. We have.
I might be backwards on that. You might be correct. There's just so much information in my head.
I get you.
God.
No, I know.
My God.
I
It's
know.
just like trying to remember Baston. Now, I knew his name started with a B, but I couldn't remember his name.
I just,
That might have been, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I do feel like what Richard Dobson just said in chat. I don't think it's out of control at all. I think social media makes it out of control, and there are so many bad creators that are making it seem that way. We've talked about this before as to why people do what they do on social media. I don't know. I'm not here to be the social media police, but I've told everyone who watches me and watches the channel to really be careful about what you choose to watch and listen to, because some of this stuff, all you're doing is fueling the fire for these creators to put out this bogus information. And that's what I see happening.
And I have to explain to everybody, you understand why now that I don't do lives 2, 3, 4 times a week.
Yep.
Delphi is my baby case, and I'm not going to do any other case until this case is over with, period. And I'm strictly focused on this case. I will go live with information that is pertinent that people need to know. If it's something that y'all can read in 5 minutes on a document, there's no sense of going live with it. But sometimes I do have to go live because I understand there's people don't understand the lingo and the language in these documents. And I've looked at so many of them over the years. I've learned what this means and what keywords are using in certain phrases, So I've gotten pretty good at it. And that's why I don't go live that much.
Right.
Until something's is important enough for everybody to know, then I'll go live.
Well, I'm not one of those people that jumps on the bandwagon for conspiracy theories. I'm just not that kind of a person, never have been, never will be. I feel that there is way too many players in this scenario for a conspiracy to work. I don't feel, if in all honesty, because I'm so tired of people saying that law enforcement is trying to frame Richard Allen. Do you honestly think that if they were going to frame somebody, that they would have framed Richard Allen? They would have framed Ron Logan. Are you freaking kidding me? Give me a break.
And I just don't see them jeopardizing their career on falsifying anything in any type of case.
I don't either.
I just don't see it.
I can't either. Like I said before, Mike Patty is friends with some of these officers, and I just cannot see them doing this. These guys have families. They have children. They, this is a hard case for them. What they witnessed in that woods that day and what happened to those 2 girls, nobody should have to ever see.
It will be etched in their minds for the rest of their lives.
Forever. Yep. And it's like, and yes, PTSD is a real thing, and they very well could be suffering from that as well. I'm just sick and tired, I guess, of listening to people badmouth law enforcement. Have they made mistakes in this case? Sure they have. They're human. Are there things they wish they would have done differently? I'm sure there are. But, you and I both have said this before too. This isn't Friday night Law and Order. This isn't something that's solved in an hour and everything is all put together nice and neat. And here's your suspect and let's move on.
Right.
This is real life. And these are people, real people.
It just sickens me that I see some creators in general, they'll create a story just for clicks.
Yes. Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
Yep.
I dare somebody to come at me. I dare somebody to come at me about the family. I'll tell you right now.
Oh, trust me, I've been dealing with that since I started the channel because, I used to have trolls all the time that would troll me because they wanted to come in and throw Kelsey under the bus or whatever, or Derek or whomever they were trying to, badmouth Carrie. I won't let anybody badmouth Carrie. I mean, I'm sick of all of it. I'm like, she is Libby's mother, and she is a forgotten person in this case, and it's sad. Nobody talks about her, and no matter what her past is or what her whatever, Libby had a relationship with her. She spoke
there's
to her
no doubt.
the morning she died. She loved her mother.
Yeah. I've tried to reach out to Carrie a couple times, but she's never responded. But she did tell Deb just to go through Deb if I needed something from her, or if Carrie needed something, they can go through me to get it. And typically what I do is, the first thing I do is anytime I obtain the documents, as soon as I get them, I upload them to all the different sites, and the first person they go to is Deb.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to help her get to 1,000 too.
Yep.
Because me and her are neck and neck right now when it comes to subs.
You guys are both going to get there. I know you are, because your channels are amazing. And like I said, people to me want to listen to people who want to give the facts, who do it respectfully. I'm not here to waste my time with drama and all the other stuff. First of all, I'm too old for that. And it doesn't belong in true crime. This isn't some clique, high school clique group. I mean, I just don't get it. I really just don't. And it gets old after a while. And it's one reason why I stepped back in the summer from the channel a little bit, because things were so crazy. It was all over the place. And I was just like, I needed a break from it because it was just too much.
Yeah. I'm just sitting there thinking about the timeline again. Because there's a lot of talk about Dan Doolin losing the audio statement from Richard Allen.
I think, there's a lot of questions that I have there as to, if you spoke to somebody that gave you a tip that said they were there that day, how did you forget that for nearly 6 years?
Right.
There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, but I'm willing to wait for the court to have that done, because I'm sure that this is going to be explained to us, and our heads are probably going to spin when it is. Because I still go back to Doug Carter telling all of us that the tentacles in this case, there's tentacles. And we don't know what that means, and we don't know where that is. We thought we knew what it meant when we were dealing with Kagan Klein, and we were wrong, weren't we?
Yep. Well, I mean, we can't be right. I mean, we just go off our gut instinct, and sometimes our gut instinct,
And we don't have all the evidence, which is another thing I try to remind everyone, that tunes in and is following this case so closely. We're not privy to all the evidence, nor should we be. It's not our right to see it yet. And you can't really make great judgments or a decision on guilt or innocence until you've seen all the evidence.
Right.
Richard Allen is innocent until he's proven guilty in a court of law.
Well, let me tell you something about it. Let me tell you something about Indiana. You're guilty until you're proven innocent, no doubt. That's how they look at it here.
Well, I think it's that way anywhere, Frank, anymore. If you get arrested, you're guilty. And it's and that's not true. I mean, I think you know that, I know that.
Right.
Just because you get arrested does not necessarily mean that you're guilty. But when you start looking at this case and what we do know, and we got to see the arrest affidavit. We know what led them to him. And they have every reason to believe that he is the perpetrator of this crime.
Now
Now they're
besides the
just going to have
bullet,
to wait and see if he's the only one.
me and Ruckus have talked about this quite a few times, and me and him agree on this, is that we believe that the reason why they're trying to get the search warrant thrown out, it's not just because of the gun.
Right.
Our personal opinion is that there is something they found in that home that ties him directly to the scene.
You know
besides
what
the
bothered,
weapon.
and I agree with you that there's very, very likely a memento, something. Did you not find it interesting that they took a bullet from the house that he kept in a special box on top of his dresser?
Wasn't it a glass box?
Mm-hmm.
That is weird.
That to me was really strange.
Yep, that is weird.
And I was just like, yeah.
I mean, I could see as when we were kids, we would put our tooth in a little box and keep it, and all that stuff like that. But a bullet, single bullet. I mean, what are you trying to tell somebody, or what's your thought process with that? I
Hey,
mean, come
Tech Deb,
on.
how are you, my dear? So good to see you.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Tech Death. Once he confessed, it was all over with.
Yeah,
I would have to agree.
I just, I think that there's a lot of things that are going to need to be answered. I don't think that this case is slam dunk. I don't necessarily feel that any case is slam dunk. I feel that you have to have a good way of explaining it in court to a jury. I think that ballistics could be an issue in this case. And I think that to me, it's not, but there's a lot of people that think it's junk science. So if they feel that way, they're going to really need to hear the experts and how they arrived at their conclusions regarding the cycling of the bullet.
Right. Listen to this. I had somebody in my chat a couple nights ago, right? And they were trying to tell me, and they said, word verbatim said, law enforcement and the prosecutors know exactly what happened at that crime scene and exactly. And I said, no, they don't. I said, there is not one case you're going to find that they know 100% exactly what happened. They speculate and give you what they think happened.
Right.
The only way they're going to know 100% what happened from second to second, minute to minute, hour to hour is if they get a full confession from the perp minute by minute. You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
And the only people that know what happened that day is the killer or killers, them baby girls, and God. That is it.
Right. And I believe that Libby did everything in her power to speak to them that day by recording that video. I know that we have heard, so much about the video over the years, and was it a good thing, a bad thing? But I just know in my heart of hearts that it's a good thing that we have it.
Right.
And that's the way I feel about it. And I think that I don't believe that there's, I don't know, what was it that I was listening to just recently, like early last week, where someone was trying to figure out the timeline and where Bridge Guy went off of platform 1, waiting for the girls to arrive around the corner.
Right.
And I still say he went to that walking path through the woods that goes directly to the crime scene. He was standing off there to the side as the girls walked, walked on to the bridge.
But see, the only problem with that scenario is there's no foliage or anything at that time of the year. So they're able to see anybody that's moving around or standing there or whatever.
Well,
That's the
if
only
he went
problem.
back far enough, though, I don't think that they would have. And they
Right.
probably weren't looking for him. They were two teenage girls laughing, talking, having a good time. They just walked right out on the bridge. You know what I mean? They weren't paying attention to somebody following them or being there to
Right.
hurt them. That wasn't on their
Well,
radar.
well, I look at this scenario is when Betsy Blair saw him on the bridge on the first platform.
Yes.
She turned around and starts walking back up to the trail, going back to their car, I believe it was at the Freedom Bridge. She says she passes two young girls. She wasn't sure if it was Abby and Libby. Okay. Well, my honest opinion, I don't think Abby and Libby were the targets. I think it was somebody else, and he went to follow Betsy Blair and happened to see the girls.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I can control them because they're a lot younger, da 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 da. And he passed them, and they had some type of run-in. Words were exchanged of some sort of that nature, and no one, from what I've heard over the last couple of years, Libby would have smarted off to him.
Well, that
Okay.
and Anna always has said, and this is from way back. I mean, way back, right after the families were allowed to listen to the videotape. You know what I mean? To the recording. That the girls made the comment, is that creepy guy still behind us?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. And then the girls pissed him off. He waited a minute until they got near the bridge, and that's when he turned back around and started following them. That's what I think.
Okay, I don't know what's going on in chat, but everybody needs to be respectful of one another and cool it. I don't want to have to kick anybody out of here, but I will. So just kind of, lower it a decibel down there. Okay, you guys? Because
Hey, Dave, do me a favor and watch the tone of your language in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. I get how passionate this case can make all of us, but in the scheme of things, we all should want the same thing: justice for Abby and for Libby.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's about justice, and it's about the right person being brought to justice, or persons. None of us want to see the wrong person incarcerated or worse for this crime.
What do you think it's a good question Gail Hurd just asked. What do you think the reasoning for the murder could be, or what it's tied to?
I'm going to go with, we don't know what's in a person's mind. And what I mean by that is, we know from statistics and what's out there that there are pedophiles everywhere, in all walks of life, in all, jobs. They're everywhere. They look just like you and me. They're not the boogeyman anymore. And so is it possible that this was a person who, fantasized about this kind of a killing, or this kind of a scenario of an assault? And then things got out of hand? Because in my mind, I think about it a lot, and I'm like, was this premeditated as a murder, or was this a sexual assault gone bad? And
I would have to lean, just because of the fact he had a weapon on him. If he is the lone wolf, he had a gun on him and he had a knife on him. Why would you have a knife and a gun on you at the same time, unless you're intending to use it? Right.
No, you're right. I always felt like if it was just a sexual assault that went bad, it's because they ran.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, then he panicked because he knew that he couldn't let them get away. At that
Exactly.
point, everything would have changed for him. And it would have been, I cannot let one or either of these girls get away from me. And
Because they've done seen me.
Pardon?
They've done seen me, and I can't allow them to.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And so I think that, because there's so many different things with these types of killers. Some of them, they set out and that's exactly what they want to do. But some of them, they escalate, they do the assaults for so many times or whatever, and then they escalate. That's not enough to get them off anymore. And then they escalate further into more violence and ultimately killing someone. So is that what we're looking at here? I know it's hard to look at this guy that we have arrested, Richard Allen. And when you just look at him, and especially the pictures that first came out of him and his wife down in Tennessee or wherever it was they were on vacation. When you look at those pictures, it's like, he looks like your normal everyday guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? He doesn't look like an evil, crazy person that could do something like this. But that's the problem. They don't look like those kinds of people.
But then again, there's that one photo of him or the video of his wife sneaking up on him in the car.
Oh, his eyes.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Oh,
when I saw that, I saw the black straight.
The black and the evil. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
And I've seen it in person with him. I've been to the hearings. He's within 10 to 15 feet of me, and he looks right over at everybody as he's walking by, and you could just see that deadness in his eyes. It's scary. I mean, it really is scary when you stop and think about, I can't imagine what his neighbors must be thinking. The neighbors that have lived next to him since 2006, was it? 2004, whenever it was they bought the house. Think about those. Yeah. Think about those neighbors that saw him, sitting out having a beer, smoking a cigarette, whatever, on his driveway. They said that he used to do that after work. Right. To try to blend in with everybody. Yeah, exactly. And right, Richard, the guy who was dancing around the pool table, You talking about neighbor golf? No, I'm talking about the video of Richard Allen in the pool hall when he was dancing around the pool table. Okay. Look at that video of him, So you can turn it on and off like a light switch. Exactly. And it's kind of like, if you listen to BTK's daughter, Carrie Rawson, she talks at length about her father, obviously, and I've read her book. But one of the things that she said was she lived in a house where they feared her dad. She loved her father, and she never saw, horrible things from him, although he beat up her brother. I mean, he was very physically abusive to her brother, but she said you never knew when that switch was going to flip, because they would see that one side of him. Right. But it was not very often, and it was usually provoked, or it would come out like if he did get angry or whatever, that sometimes it would come out then. But they're really good at compartmentalizing the two sides of their personality. The family man, the guy who goes to work every day and holds down the job, versus the psychopath who's, the darkness afterwards. Exactly. The dark side. Yep, exactly. I mean, and that's what I saw in Richard Allen. When she walked up on him on the car and he turned around and looked at her, I said, "Oh
Mhm.
my goodness, look at that look."
Look at that look that he gave her. I know it was frightening.
Yeah. But I'm leaning toward more the sexting ring or the CSAM ring that's going on over in that area. That's what I'm leaning at right now.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is a sexual crime. It was a sexually motivated crime for sure. I firmly believe that. And I just oh no, I was saying dancing around the pool table made him look less likely a killer. Never once said that it made him look like a killer. So, you can't tell that by looking at someone. I think that's the takeaway is
Gail Hurd just made a good comment. Jekyll and Hyde.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. Hey Josh, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. But yeah, he seemed to be a loner. It's weird, but yet not, because when you listen to the employees who worked with him at Walmart, he was kind of creepy.
Right.
Yep. And I mean, he was inviting people over, to his house for cookouts and stuff, but he was coming on to some of the girls. And I mean, did Kathy know this was going on with him? Was there ever any red flags with her? I really have an issue with her.
And I've always questioned how much Kathy really knows.
Yeah.
I mean, nearly 6 years later, your husband's being arrested, and you're going to tell me you didn't recognize that voice or realize it was your husband after so much time had gone by? I mean, to me, if it was my spouse, I would have recognized him right off the bat.
Right. Well, you would think so.
Especially the voice.
Yeah, you would think so. Right.
Right.
So one of the things about sexually motivated crimes, CJK and Grunge Truck, thanks for commenting, guys, is that the whole thing with the sexually motivated attack, there doesn't have to be any sexual activity at all. It's what gets them off sexually.
What
arouses them. Exactly. And so that's, and it's the power and it's the control. And, I just know for a fact that was part of the FBI's profile of this killer, because Doug Carter talks directly to the killer at the 2018 press conference when he says, "We know this is about power to you."
And I think Kathy wore the pants in the house.
I could see that.
I think she did. Honestly.
Knowing the fact, okay, this is one of the things that got me. When we were looking at the videos of them that was posted on her Facebook before all that was taken down. Remember the video of them on vacation where they stop at the bar and they sit around the bar and they're drinking together? And I can't remember where this was at or whatever. And he's sitting there. Your husband has a drinking problem, and yet you're asking him, because it was her that wanted to do that. Come on, let's have another drink, whatever, So she's pushed. She knows he's already had issues with drinking, with alcohol, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting to me. So you could very well be right.
And also another thing I noticed in another video, went on that vacation, they're on the ski lift. Remember, she told him to shut up or whatever she told him to do?
Yeah.
When they were on the ski lift. And then there's that other one where it looks like they're on their porch and he has a knife in his hand and was stabbing a bird or something.
Yeah.
She said, and she went off on him about that.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, Camaro Lover is right. If she's a domestic violence survivor, if he was violent to her, behind the scenes, sometimes you never know about that, because that's the kind of crime that happens when people don't know. They're careful about putting bruises where people can't see them, or
Right.
and he may not have physically hit her or anything like that, but it could have all been psychological abuse.
Right. It doesn't have to be physical all the time.
It doesn't have to be physical. No.
It could
In
be
fact, I
it could
think
be all
that
mental.
the mental abuse is, to me, far more damaging. You can heal from physical wounds, but the
Definitely.
emotional wounds are the ones that are lasting, that stay with you forever.
And see, Daisy says RA calling tip line or approaching officer likely was for his wife's benefit.
Well, he had
Possible.
to explain something, why he was out there that day. And, hey, I went out there to look at the fish. Maybe I should let him know that I was out there. I don't know. There's just a lot of questions. I mean, if he was out there that day, they asked for that, they asked for this person to come forward because they wanted to talk to him. That's before they announced that he was a suspect, if you remember right.
Right.
At first, they said he was just a person of interest, and that they hadn't been able to, touch bases with him, but they would like to talk to him about what he may have seen that day. And then the next thing we know is he's the prime suspect. So,
I said on my show the other night, I said the ball was dropped between Dan Doolin and whoever he reports to with the information, or whoever he turns it over to.
And you got to remember, he's not a cop. He's a fish and wildlife.
Ranger.
He's a fish and wildlife cop.
A forest ranger.
A forest ranger, exactly. He's helping out the police in this case because they're getting so doggone many tips. What are the chances? I've often said, what are the chances that that's who ended up getting Richard Allen? Had that been an FBI agent or a state trooper or somebody else, would we be talking about this today?
Yeah, that is awful funny. You got the FBI saying it's Ron Logan, and then you got Dan Doolin. He sat there and talked to the damn suspect and didn't even realize it.
That he was talking. No, because don't you remember in his notes, Frank, the most important thing to Dan, the only thing he put on that interview at the bottom on the notes part was the 3 teenage girls need to be followed up on.
So
that he was thinking that they needed to be looked at more than who he was talking to that was right in front of him.
Right. Lockwood said that Doolin filed it as a witness, not as a POI.
Not as a POI. He wasn't even thinking of him as a person of interest. And I agree. I firmly agree with that. He was thinking more along the lines that you guys really need to really investigate these 3 girls that he saw there. Because, they're probably thinking in their minds that this could very well be some sort of teenage thing gone bad.
Right. Right. And that was a talk there for a little while.
Yeah, it was. And you can see why the mindset, or where that mindset, would have come from.
They were thinking it could have been a teenage trick and it went bad.
And Richard's right. I keep going back to him, but he keeps saying these amazing things, which is true, and things that I think. He told his friends at the bar after he went and came forward that he was cleared. And then if he really thought that, then why did he lay low for 5.5 years and change his appearance more than Madonna?
Right. And I meant to say something about that. I mean, that's probably what Kathy was thinking too. Well, he went and gave his statement, so it's not him. He came home.
Yeah.
She just let it go for all those years. But I know there had to have been a seed in the back of her head. There had to have been.
There's so many people out there. Grunge Truck's right. Look at all the height problems that we had with Bridge Guy over the years. At first he was tall. He was 6 foot. Somewhere between 5'10" and 6 foot. And no, there's no way he could be as short as Richard Allen. There's no way that guy. But it's hard to tell when you're looking at a video and you have no reference point for people.
Yeah, it weighs 180 to 210 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just like, how are you guys getting these numbers? I mean, how are you looking at a photo and trying to determine that? I mean, it's blatantly obvious he's layered up there, so you've got to strip that down off of him. I mean, come on.
I know.
I mean, we're not police officers, and we got more knowledge than you guys do.
I'm just like, wow, I don't know. I just think that I don't think that he probably offered up a lot of what we know now to Doolin. I mean, I still wonder, did he say, I was out there on the bridge. I was out there, on the bridge at 2:15. Do you think he said that to him? No, he didn't say that to him.
He ain't stupid.
No.
Because according to what we've heard and seen is that Richard said he was there between 1:30 and 3:30. Now you got these people out there saying that Richard Allen said he was, or the attorneys, are saying he was there between 12:30 and 1:30.
Yeah, now that's what the defense is saying, and that's not what Richard Allen has said.
Well, that contradicts what the witnesses are saying too.
And that's what I mean. And the witnesses that saw him, and also his vehicle. I mean, they have the vehicle arriving, and again, everybody's like, "Well, it wasn't his car." I'm just like, "Come on, you guys!"
And now they're bringing this.
This is not Hollywood. This is, this is what you see is what you see. It's not like I don't know. It's become a real puzzle, and it will be interesting when we finally make it into court as to how this puzzle is going to fit together. I do think we will be shocked in some ways. I do think so.
Right. And by the way, one of the individuals that was leaking Discovery on Facebook, text me today.
Really?
Yep. And he said, here, let me read the messages to you. He was apologizing to me and everything because I tried to help I was trying to advise him not to do what he was doing. This has been 6 months ago because he started doing it back then with some stuff. And he finally got caught. And this is what he said. He said, I've agreed not to post or share anything anymore officially. I gave them all the information they needed and everything is good on my end. And I said, good. And he said, thanks for trying to look out for me. I did the right thing in the end because I was trying to talk him into giving up the PDF file to one of us creators who know exactly what needs to be done with it. You know, instead of just dropping that stuff. You're not a creator. Nobody knows who you are. You're just dropping stuff, dude. And people are like, what the hell? Yeah. And I do believe that he's not the one that dropped the photos. I don't believe he did that. I've got an idea on who dropped those photos. The California boy.
Really?
Yes. He's had them. He's been talking about that ever since he contacted me and Marv and wanted us to work with him. And we was like, oh no. Oh no.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I believe it might have been him that did it. Because he had them forever.
I just don't understand the mindset and why you would want to do that. To me, it's salacious and it's just
no empathy at all.
Yeah, there's absolutely no thought at all about the family. This isn't just your everyday run-of-the-mill crime. This was a violent, horrific crime to two little girls, you stop and think about that, and it's like, if that was your daughter, would you want this stuff happening?
I was getting ready to say that. You're not even thinking if it was your own kids.
Mm-hmm. How would you feel?
Exactly.
And if you're, and it goes back to all the years that I had to listen to the idiots over on, on Reddit.
Lord.
Oh my God. I mean, some of the, the blogs that, talked about one of the girls, was with child, and, and that there were horrific things done to her in the woods to make sure she wasn't anymore. And I mean, this was stuff that was written about at length for years over there. And I'm just like, who in the heck sets out to do that, and why? You have to be one sick SOB in my book to do that, because the families read that and hear that stuff, and it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I have, let's see, what day was that I contacted Becky? It might have been Friday or Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, look, there's some shit going down. I said, crime scene photos have been leaked. And I'm calling you right now just to let you know what's going on and preparing you in case somebody drops them in your email. She said, I really appreciate you contacting me. Somebody's already reached out to me already in my email about it. I said, well, I just wanted to make sure you're aware of what's going on. So,
I usually just touch base with her and just say, I'm thinking about you. I know that things are crazy right now.
Oh, I share every document with her, every piece of paper that I can get. I don't give her no photos. I won't do that.
Yeah.
All the court documents, she asks me every time I get them to forward them to her, and I do. It's just like today when the response from Nick came out, she messaged me and says, did you get the documents from Nick? And I said, yes, I did. And she said, will you give them to me, please? And I immediately sent them right to her. Because she needs to be in the loop. That's just how I feel about it.
Of course she does. I mean, they deserve it more than we do.
Right.
And like I said, my heart breaks for them every day. I mean, I think about, they can't get away from this, Frank. They can't turn their computer off and just walk away and go on to something else. They're reminded every single day that there's an empty seat at the table.
And it's so messed up. They're getting ready to go on vacation. This I think they're leaving Friday or Saturday, and I know they get bugged when they're on vacation. I just don't know how they do it. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know how
Especially Becky.
They
I mean,
she's one tough lady. She's one tough lady.
Well, that's why. Hold on. She's going on vacation the weekend of the walk. That's what it is.
Yes, the weekend of the walk.
Yes, and she can't be there. So I wish she could have been there, because I would like you to have met her in person. She is just an absolute doll.
I can't. I know. I'm really disappointed that I don't get to meet her this go around, because I was really looking forward to that too. And I know there will be another chance, but I just I know she's special. I've had so many just my conversations with her, and the fact that I do know what it's like to lose a child, not violently, but I know what it's like to bury a child, and we've had those conversations together.
Right.
And and so I can identify with some of her emotion of what she's going through, and I just would have liked to have been able to give her a hug.
What's so funny is she's got a sense of humor. When the defense started releasing all this stuff, she messaged me and she said, when are they gonna learn? I was like, well, what do you mean, Becky? And she said, this shit is not gonna work. I just started laughing. First time I ever heard a word like that come out of her mouth. I was like, really? Okay, then. You must feel comfortable talking to me now, because I've been talking to you for about a year now. So
yeah.
Funny. And now I'm starting to build a rapport with Tara now, even though I don't talk to her personally, but anytime I'm talking to Becky, Tara's usually around.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like I said, they really have, I thought, conducted themselves, really, really well under the circumstances with everything that they've had to deal with all these years. Um, a lot of people would have crumbled under the social media crap, just that alone. I mean, they drove, because it's been so crazy, they drove Kelsey off of Twitter. I mean, she had to just back away from it for a while completely because it was so toxic.
what really pisses me off, excuse my language, but about that whole situation with Kelsey, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You guys got to understand, she was a child herself when this horrific crime took place. She
Yep.
was 17, but she was still a child mentally, okay?
Yep.
There is not one person on the face of this earth, and I don't give a dang what anybody says. You're not going to remember word for word what you said 6 years ago in an interview or anything.
And
Hell,
especially when your whole world just exploded in your face,
right?
they don't know what that's like.
I mean, hell, I'm 55 years old and I can't even remember what I said 2 days ago, alone 6 years ago. Come on now, give me a break, people.
Yeah.
Give the girl a break. I mean, be in her shoes.
Yeah.
Be
I
in her
hate
shoes.
I hate the word closure because I don't
There's
use
no
it
such
because there's no such thing as closure, and you'd never have closure. You can't close that hole, that gaping hole that is missing from your life, and you can't replace it with anything else. You can try, obviously people do, but it doesn't work. And
You know who Ginger Prater is, right?
who is?
Nicole Ginger Prater, GP.
Oh,
That's
yes.
Nicole. She's in there. She lost her daughter.
I'm sorry, GP. I really, really am, because nobody should belong to this club that we belong to. Nobody. I don't wish it on I wouldn't wish it on anyone, my enemies, anybody. I mean, ever.
I mean, I feel more for the women than I would the father, because the women is the ones who have to carry that child and nurture that child inside their belly for 9 months.
Yep.
I feel more for the mothers than I do the fathers. I mean, it might sound a little bit empathetic, but it's the truth. I mean, think about this, guys and ladies. All we are doing is giving our little squirt. That's all we're doing. The woman does all the work. She does. Carries that baby for 9 months. She's got to make sure she eats the right food and all that stuff. So I feel more for the women, It's not saying that the man is going to feel it the same way, because I've went through it. I've never lost a child in a live child, but I have lost a child. We had to have an emergency DNC when she was like 5 weeks old, pregnant. I mean, it still hurt me because I knew that I just lost a child, even though it hadn't been born yet.
GP, I'm so sorry. What happened to Nicole was absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific. And my heart goes out to you and your family.
CJK, you're right. It's the maternal bond between the mother and the child.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is.
It's very strong. Most of the time, unless it's the mother that's the one that's doing the bad stuff. Sometimes that happens, as we all know. Don't understand that, but that's for another show.
How many cases here we've followed in the last 6 months that dealt with mothers killing their children?
Yes. And it's very, very sad.
Mm-hmm.
But
exactly.
But yeah, I mean, we could talk, like I said, for hours and hours about all the ins and outs and the strange, happenings with Delphi. But the most thing that I can say to everyone, that I keep saying to everyone, is, put the brakes on, let the process work. Our justice system isn't perfect, but it's the only thing we have. And for the most part, it gets it right. Obviously, there are times when it doesn't, but for the most part, it gets it right. And, Abby and Libby deserve our respect, and they deserve our care around their case. This is their case. It isn't ours. I consider it my case as well. I have since day one when they went missing, and it caught my attention, and I've been on it since. But it's really Abby and Libby's case, and it's their family's case. And we're here to help facilitate keeping that case alive and keeping their story out there. And we just have to remember that sometimes the wheels of justice move slowly, but in the end, justice will prevail. And I firmly believe that justice will prevail in this case. And I'm holding on to that until I can't hold on to it anymore. I'm not going to ever strip hope away from these families, because if you take away their hope, they have nothing left. And I'm not doing that. I won't do that as a creator or as a person.
I mean, with the relationship that me and Kristen have when it comes to Becky, we just don't want to disappoint.
No.
We do not want to disappoint at all. So
no, and I don't want to add to her hurt. I don't want to add to her pain that she feels, I want to be a support.
We've got a good bond with Becky, and so we're going to do the best thing that's right for her and the families. I'm not going to go out of my way and try to accuse Kelsey or the family or whoever else they want to accuse. What we got right now is Richard Allen, and the evidence that we have points directly at him.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell the same thing to everybody in your chat, like I tell in my chat and Sleuth's chat. Quit believing everything you're hearing about what the defense is saying. They're portraying a picture in your head of what they want you to see and believe.
Yep.
Until you see the actual documents or sitting in the courtroom, seeing the crime scene photos, whatever, don't believe a damn thing they're saying, because they're doing their job to try to trick your brain.
Exactly. Because again, they only have to convince one person. They only have to put doubt into one person's mind, one person, one juror, and it's all over. And so look at what they've done on social media. Look at the firestorm that they've created in the last 2 months on social media.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, as a defense team, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They're trying to, they're trying to defend their client. That doesn't necessarily mean that anything that they're saying is true.
Exactly. I mean, some of these people are just anti-law enforcement, and I'm just like, you guys don't see between the lines, man. You don't see what's going on. And a prime example, and I've said it in Sleuth's chat. He had me on the show last night. I talked about it last night, and I talked about it in my show the last couple times. Look at that 136-page memorandum. What did they focus on?
Yeah.
What was the primary thing they focused on? Was the crime scene itself.
Exactly.
They were trying to deflect Richard Allen away from the crime scene, that saying he wasn't there. But what else did they did not do? They did not deny he was BG on the bridge. That was never brought up. They never denied he was the one that forced them down the hill. It was never brought up. Ron Logan was never brought up in the thing. Keegan Klein was never brought up. The families were not brought up. So that should tell you right there that they're trying to deflect everything away from Richard Allen onto somebody else.
Exactly.
So why are they not mentioning about the picture on the bridge? Why aren't they? I mean, think about this stuff, guys.
Yep.
You got to think about that.
We knew going into this. I told True Crime Maria a year and a half ago that whenever they arrested the person who committed this crime, that there was going to be a crazed amount of people who refused to believe it, even with evidence in front of them.
Right.
They would not believe it, because there have been so many people who are willing to die on their POI hill. You know, this is my person of interest, and I know for a fact it's them, and I will do or die on that hill for them. And you know, it's crazy. You know, I don't see these guys arresting someone in this case particularly, unless they've got a good, solid, doggone good reason to think that he did this. So,
and like I said, I don't think they're going to jeopardize their careers, their college degrees, and everything to lie. Because if you are found that you lied and fabricated evidence, there goes your career out the door. You're never, ever going to be able to practice any type of law. I don't care if it's a lawyer or if it's a paralegal. You're never, ever going to be able to do anything in law anymore.
Right.
You might as well go work at McDonald's.
And prosecutors and defense teams, they like to make a name for themselves on cases just like this. So you have to remember that as well. I think that McClelland has done an exemplary job so far. He's maintaining his demeanor. He's being very professional, unlike what I've seen in the defense. Their documents they've been filing have been some of the most unprofessional documents that I have ever seen in a court.
It's like that thing they wrote up in Ron Logan's PCA. You could tell that it wasn't an attorney that wrote it out, because we were talking about it on Sleuths one night, and I said, man, I guarantee it's that law student Max who's writing everything up. He's the only one that's been going to the prison. I mean, come on, it's obvious. Look at his grammar.
I'm like, I mean, it's crazy. Between the spelling errors and the grammatical errors, I mean, you just need to go through with a red pen and make all the corrections.
And then I've had people questioning me about, was Libby wearing jeans or what? Because that way they wrote that damn memorandum up, they made it sound like that Abby was wearing Libby's jeans. No. Channel 13 has the actual police report where they give the description of the girls, what they were wearing, and Libby was wearing gray sweats with black lettering.
Yeah, she was wearing gray sweatpants.
And they're making it sound like that Abby got redressed in Libby's clothes, and I said no. They said they had Libby's sweatshirt on. No, she had Kelsey's sweatshirt on.
Yeah.
You see, I catch little things like that, and people, it just goes right by people's eyes, and I'm like, I'm very particular when I read stuff.
You have to be. And you got to be careful about reading things into stuff. You have to be careful about that too, or adding something, not just taking away stuff, but adding stuff. But I really, really, I don't know. I really think that we've got a lot more to get through before this case is over. Unfortunately, I'm just glad that I've got people with a sane mind that I can talk to about it, because if everybody was on the crazy train, I don't know that I could cover the case. And not everybody is. I mean, you're not on the crazy train.
Oh, hell no. I could be on the crazy train if you want me to be, but, I don't want to be like that.
No, I don't want you to be that way.
I mean, because I remember when me and you and True Crime Maria had a falling out almost 2 years ago over Discord.
Yep.
And about 6 months to 9 months passed, and I said, yeah, it's time to break the ice. I'm done with all this garbage.
Yep.
Fighting with them too.
Well, I'm really glad that that you're here and in this community, because I think you've done a really great job, especially these last few months. You did a great job when you were with Marv on that channel. You're a great addition to true crime, and I know that when you do venture out to cover other cases, that you're going to do the same kind of work on them that you've done on this one.
Yeah, I appreciate that compliment. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
the same thing goes for you. And I know you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I know you're a deep diver just like I am, but it's got to the point now where I don't even really have to deep dive anymore, because I've learned so much from all the stuff that I've done over the last few years. Plus, being a radio DJ, I've learned I was doing some journalism work anyway. So
Yeah.
I've learned over the years on how to do all this stuff. So I try to give a little bit of what I've learned to other people. If they take it, great for you. If you don't, hey, it's on you.
I have 20 notebooks, thick notebooks on Delphi. Because I'm an old school girl. I have to write stuff down. I like writing things down. So I have complete full notebooks over the last almost 7 years.
I learned my lesson on that one when I went out to Delphi for the first hearing.
Yeah.
And left my notebook on top of Snape's van with almost 2 years worth of notes. And the next thing you know, I get home and I see people online with them.
Oh gosh.
But I basically got a sponge for a brain anyway. So I mean,
yeah, I used to, and as I'm getting older, things tend to kind of go.
Don't tell me that, because you're not much older than me.
I'm just like, oh boy. So
when my brain starts to go, it's time for me to go. But I do really appreciate the compliment you have me on tonight.
I'm glad to have you, and I thought it was a really good conversation, and like I said, I enjoy talking about Delphi because it does mean a lot to me. The girls mean a lot to me. I want justice for them so bad, and I don't want it at the expense of true justice. I just want the right person or persons convicted for this crime.
Right, exactly. And that's the way it should be. And like we said before, all indications at this point in time is everything's pointing right at Richard Allen. So we've got to stick with that until something comes out, which I don't think is going to happen anymore. More likely going to have to wait until trial. And if there's not a trial, we're never going to know. I can tell you that right now. We'll never know if there's not a trial.
Yeah, no, it's going to be, if something happens that this doesn't fly for whatever reason. My biggest fear was that things would get thrown out and they wouldn't have enough to go to convict. That's what was worrying me for a while. But right now, I really think that he's looking pretty, Nick's looking pretty good. I mean, I think he's got a good handle. He doesn't seem to me to be absolutely swayed at all by what's happening with the defense. He calls their language colorful and dramatic, and that's about it. Nothing factual.
Right, exactly.
So I think that pretty much says how he's feeling about what's going on. But CJK, I don't know why people follow channels that they don't tend to agree with. There's nothing wrong with listening to people that you don't agree with. We can all learn things from people that we don't agree with. And sometimes you might find yourself swayed because you might learn something. We don't always have to, follow people that we agree with, but to me, it has to be more about the respect and treating others that you don't agree with kindly and with respect, because at the end of the day, like I said, we all want the same thing, or we should. We all should want the same thing.
But we know there's some of them out there that are not. We know that for a fact.
They're doing it for complete, utter selfish reasons. They've made this case about themselves, not about what it should be about. And that's the bottom line, you know, and, you know, that's sad, but I think it's going to be in the genre, no matter what case we're covering.
Well, I think everybody knows where my heart's at, because I've shed a few tears over the last couple of years over this case on lives before.
Oh, me too. I cry about this case regularly.
The way I look at this case as if those were my own kids, okay? Even though they're not my own kids, they are my kids, because I'm looking for justice for two little girls as if they were my own. So if you want to look at it from a public domain perspective, those girls belong to everybody that's been following this case. Oh
yeah, they've become everyone's children because of who they are.
Poster children.
You know, yeah. I mean, it's like it to me, it's exactly like Lyric and Elizabeth. I mean, in Evansdale, you know, we all feel akin to them, and we feel like they're part of us because of what they've gone through, and with no justice. And
Drew was on Ruckus's show yesterday.
Yeah, I know. I got to finally watch that.
You see the comment Drew made? He said, "Damn, it's a circus down there in Delphi."
It is, and Drew's right.
It is, and I feel for that, because that case should get just as much publicity as this one.
Yep.
Because of the similarities of the crime, where the girls were located. You know, we don't know how Lyrica and the other girl died, because they were basically skeletonized by the time they found the remains. But the point of the matter is, it was two young girls, just like Abby and Libby. They were found in the wooded area, you know. So I just don't understand why that case didn't get the publicity nationally like this case does. It just really bothers me.
It does. It bothers me because the same thing with Flora. I mean, I feel the same way, like I said about Flora. You know, their case went to the back burner after Abby and Libby's case happened. And, you know, and there's not enough. I mean, it's better. There's at least people talking about Flora, but it's the same kind of thing. I'm going to bring Flora bracelets with me to the Delphi walk. I'll probably have people pissed at me, but I don't care. I'm still going to pass them out if people want them.
Well, there's a few people I've heard it's going to be there. They just better stay away from me. That's all I gotta say.
I can't wait to meet you. So
I'll be there. Definitely be there.
That will
I'll be there about 12:30, quarter to 1.
Okay.
Because the walk don't actually start until 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Everybody usually arrives about 12:30. So.
Okay. Have you heard anything? I was going to ask you real quick before we let go. Have you heard anything about how Randy's doing?
Oh yeah, I talked to him.
Okay.
It was appendicitis that he had. Okay. He's been home. He's doing fine, and
good.
He's been posting, letting everybody know that the walk is still going on the 21st.
Okay.
Stuff like that. I check in on him at least once a week to make sure he's doing okay. So, and if he wasn't able to do the walk, I was going to probably take charge of it for that day, anyways, because I've been there so many damn times in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I know my way around that place like the back of my hand. But I will tell everybody in the chat now, if you're going to the walk, don't expect me to go to the crime scene anymore, because I've done it 3 times, and all you young bucks can do it now.
I was just going to say, that's a heck of a trek back there.
Well, it's not only that. I mean, when you go to that trail near the north end of the bridge, it's a straight walk flat. And then when you get about 10 to 15 yards away from the mirrors of Logan property line, it's all downhill from there.
Right. And you've got that huge ravine too, in the middle of it.
And then walking back up is even worse. Oh my goodness. And that's why I said, I'm not doing it no more. All you young youngins can do it. I'm good. Done it 3 times already. I did what I had to do down there. I plotted the trees to let y'all know where approximately the girls were located. I've done all that for you guys. So no work needs to be done anymore.
Well,
So
for those of you that aren't aware, there is the Memorial Walk that Randy Gravitt is hosting on the 21st of October in Delphi at the Monon High Bridge. So for anyone who wants to go, and I will be there. So
who sounds like who? Who sounds like BG?
Oh, they're talking about Richard Allen. They're talking about how Richard Allen sounds like him because he stopped ordering. Kathy started after the crime happened. He stopped talking in public. Kathy did all the ordering, and Joan said that even when they would go to the pool hall, he wouldn't talk.
And she deleted all of her 2017 Facebook posts too.
Yes.
Everything from 2017. So, but
yeah,
where we at? We're at 2 hour, almost the 2 hour mark.
Yep. Well,
man, I've had 4 lives,
and
I've
you
had
get
4
some rest. You've been
I've
busy.
had 4. Yeah, I've had 4 lives since Friday.
I was just going to say, you need to get some rest.
Oh, I'm good. I'll be up again early in the morning checking my case or waiting for Doc's Pop to hit me up and say, hey, call the clerk.
Well, thanks so much for coming on tonight. It was great having you.
Thank you, Ann. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome.
So everybody, you know my motto. Peace out. One love, guys. Talk to y'all later.
Talk to you later,
Good
Frank.
night.
Good night. Hey, guys. So I hope that you guys learned some stuff tonight. I didn't go through the documents because I know they've been gone through before. I know that Deb from True Crime Notebook went through them on her channel. So I'm not going to go through them on mine, but I've missed you guys, and I just wanted to come on and talk to you about all this stuff again. I appreciate everyone who's here. Hey, Grizz, how are you? Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate all of you. And, you know, even everyone who may or may not agree with me and my viewpoint, you know, you're welcome in my channel as long as you remain civil and respectful to everyone here. I completely agree, Gail, when you said that. So, you know, I was on the debate team in high school. I love a good debate, and I will never make it personal. It's not personal. It's you know, it's about facts, actually. And what are facts and what are suppositions or things you think? Because what we think and what is factual are two different things. And that's what we have to always remember. But I hope everyone has a really great rest of your evening that remains, and a great rest of your week. I have a really busy weekend coming up with football and birthday parties. And so, but it should be fun, and I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, you guys can always reach me on email if you have something that you want to talk or whatever. And I look forward to definitely being here again next week to talk to you guys all again. Take care, be kind to one another, and if you get a chance, pay it forward, guys. With everything going on in our world right now, kindness is the best way to go. It is so important to be kind. There's so much ugly out there. We need more kindness in this world. Good night, everybody, and be safe.